you guys for being here. I'm so excited to be doing this. I have not done a live in so mother freaking long. So thank you for joining me here. We are talking all about oral mastery, and it's so important because here's the reality. When you know how to please a woman, the reward that comes with that. If you've had experience with pleasing a woman, then you know what it's like. But if you don't, when you bring pleasure to a woman's body and she's excited and she's jolting and she's moaning and she is just losing her mind, and you know that you're the one who brought her that experience, what it does for your confidence is astronomical. And I would love if you're a guy and you've brought a woman great pleasure and you see her body orgasming like that. I would love to hear in the comment section, like how did that make you feel as a man? But here's the thing, when a man knows how to give us wonderful oral, it's such a unique experience for us because as I've shared and as I'm going to share, that there are many men who don't know how to do that. And when you're one of the guys who knows how to give a woman oral in such a beautiful way, it really sets you apart because I promise you this, she is not having that experience with every guy. I'm going to say that again. When you know how to give a woman really good oral, it's an experience that she's not having with every other guy. And as my buddy Jacques has shared before, that most men, if you're talking to your buddies about their sexual experiences, most of them are lying because they don't know how. And that's something I really want to share with you today, is that when you understand the power of the right technique of how to give a woman oral, what it does is it actually makes your job a lot easier because she surrenders over to you. And when a woman surrenders her pleasure to you, she surrenders her body to you, then it makes it so less technical, and then you can really feel your way through. But let me preface it by saying it always does start off with technique. Because here's the thing, and I'm going to be super honest with you. I just saw a fellow sex expert give advice, and he was saying, like, he said that technique doesn't matter and that it's all about making a woman feel safe. And as a woman and with my own body, I can say that that is actually not correct. Because, and I will tell you a story about why I can tell you that that is not correct. But if you're that guy and you're like, I really want to master oral, please, there's a link in the chat. I highly encourage you, click that link because that is going to give you my full mastery into oral. So you want to click the link in the chat. So I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you the power of using the right technique and how that is going to make you not only feel like a champ, but get her to surrender more to you, which will make your job so much easier. And then at the end of this, I want to answer your questions. So I highly encourage you, if you have any questions that you've been wanting to ask me and you get to ask that in live time on this YouTube live, I highly encourage you to stay to the end of this so that I can answer your questions. And at any point, if you need more answers in terms of like how this physically looks, you can get the full mastery of that oral bundle in the chat. It's in the comment section. So story time. So odd that I'm doing this YouTube live about this. And also, I'm going to be doing this for 2 more days. We're going to have one on Friday. We're going to have one on Saturday. I just saw that the Saturday one, for whatever reason, did not schedule. So I'm going to make sure that that is scheduled because we have it same time tomorrow on Friday and then again on Saturday. So let me tell you this story. And it's so strange I'm talking about this because as I was saying, I actually had a dream about this ex-boyfriend. Now, this ex-boyfriend was lovely. Like, of my boyfriends in the past, he was like one of the top 5. He was an incredible boyfriend. He was so much fun. He made me laugh. He did make me feel safe, yes, but, and I will tell you why you want to brush up on your technique and make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. So he gave me oral, and it was really terrible. I mean, really, really terrible, where it made me feel really uncomfortable. And so, to be polite, I just said, I don't like that. And I threw myself under the bus. Instead of being a bitch, instead of just telling him the truth, I mean, I could have said the truth in a nice way, but instead of doing that, I put it all on me, which I shouldn't have done, but this is what women do. And I'm going to tell you why we do this. But I put it all on me, and I was like, I just don't like it. And I didn't have the heart to tell him that he was doing a really shitty job, that it was just effing horrible. And it made me uncomfortable having him lick in the most private areas where I pee from and where I have intercourse from. And it made me hell of uncomfortable of someone just licking down there with their face down there in such an intimate, private, and holy area, to have his face buried down there and just to be licking like it was like all random, like it was like a maze or something like that. It was just like, and there was just no rhythm to it. There was no system to it. There was no rhyme or reason whatsoever. He was just kind of like it was just like a licky pad that he's like, Sorry guys, I did have a turmeric latte. I was like, why am I talking about oral? And why am I gonna have a turmeric latte as I'm about to talk about oral? So if you see yellow stuff on my tongue, it's my turmeric latte. So he was just like, and it didn't flow. It didn't feel sensual. And honestly, it felt like he didn't know what he was doing. So what did I do? I took it all on myself, and I just said, hey, I don't really like that. I'm not into that. And so the reality was, he just did a really terrible job. But the story gets worse. You're like, okay, it's bad enough that this sweet woman had to endure really bad oral. And not only that, but I remember we went out with, let's say, some mutual friends. I'm trying to like change up the actual dynamics to protect this person's identity. Still protecting this guy. 20 years later, was it 20 years? Still protecting this guy. Anyways, we go out with some friends, and he starts making fun of me to them and says, she doesn't like oral. Can you believe that? What girl doesn't like oral? And I sat there and I took it. Instead of throwing him back under the bus and saying, no, it's because you do a really shitty job and you don't know what the hell you're doing, and it feels really freaking awkward when you're down there, you're just like, and you're not licking it right, and you're not turning me on, and you're actually turning me off. But did I do any of that? No. No. I sat there and took it. I laughed embarrassingly because I didn't want to embarrass my man, even though he was very comfortable throwing me under the bus and embarrassing me. I took it, and I just said, oh yeah, just Here's the thing. This is why, and I know that some men get so mad about this, but I'm going to tell you the honest truth. We as women, we are wired since we are little girls. It is in our subconscious. We are deeply programmed to do one thing, and that is to not hurt people's feelings. Now, obviously, the older I am, the more comfortable I am, the more, obviously, this is what I do for a living now. I have no issue of telling a person like, no, darling, don't do it this way. Do it like this, do it like that. But you're talking about a woman who is 45 years old, who's comfortable in her body, and who is very comfortable, for the most part, using her voice and telling motherfuckers what's up. So that's a very different version of me. But that version of me in my 20s didn't have all that. And there are a lot of women. And when I talk to my girlfriends about sex, I'm just telling you guys the truth. I'm treating you guys like you're on the inside of me and my girlfriends having a real honest conversation. You're like, what do women really talk about? I'm going to tell you right here, right now. And in that oral mastery, I have a private conversation with some friends where we talk about honest stuff that people are not honest about when it comes to oral. So if you click that link in the chat, you can get access to that private conversation. But when I talk to my girlfriends and they're like, Erica, you talk about sex a lot. You're obviously very comfortable with this subject. Like, and I had one friend say, like, you actually tell the guys when they don't do something right. This is a 40-year-old woman, my friend. She's very similar to me in age. And even she, at 40 years old, she was like, oh my gosh, you tell them when they're not doing a good job? You give them instruction, you tell them what to do when they're in bed with you? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you do that. I wish I had the courage to do that. I wish I could tell a man what he's doing wrong. And she said, so how do you say it? And I just said, I tell him like I need you to lick a little bit harder, or you're too aggressive right now. I need you to be a little bit more sensual, or I need you to go a bit faster, or you're going super fast. Like, babe, like slow it down a little bit. Like, you're doing good, but I need you to slow down. And she was like, oh my God, I wish I had the confidence to say this to men. And this is why I'm telling you why technique is so important to make a woman surrender to you in the bedroom. Because without technique, most women are not going to tell you. And so like that guy who gives advice, this particular guy, I think he gives a lot of great advice. But in this situation, he was wrong when he was like, technique is not that important. I'm like, yes, it is. Because even if a woman feels safe with you, because we've been so deeply programmed to not hurt people's feelings, to not hurt a man's ego, because we know there are consequences. Trust me, I have hurt men's egos in the past. And boy, men come out swinging when you hurt their ego, and then it shuts them down sexually. So then you don't even get piped down because they don't want to give you anything, because now their feelings are hurt. So their penis goes limp. It's a disaster. This is why you want to know good technique, because she is so programmed to not tell you the truth. She doesn't want to hurt your feelings. And most women, if they're being honest, I'm not talking about the ones who are brave and, you know, you may look at women on social media who are like sharing things and you're like, that's how all women think. No, that's a woman who has the balls and the guts to turn on her phone, say whatever the hell she wants, and she gets on social media and shares that. She represents about 1% to 3% of women. I think 3% is insanely generous. 1% of women. The other 99% of women do not feel comfortable. So most women are not going to be telling you what they want in the bedroom. This is what goes back to my point of you really want to master technique. What the technique that I show you in Tongue Magic, and you can get access to that. It's in the chat. You can get access to the oral obsession. All of this is in the chat. I even talk about squirting. There's a whole section just on squirting in that oral mastery, and it's in the chat. You can also, I think we'll put a link on my website, Arica-Angelo.com as well. But the reality is yes, when you know technique, what happens is, because, pay attention to this, please pay attention. When you know how to master technique and you know what you're doing, what you can do is you can start giving her instruction. You can help her feel comfortable in her body. You can help her feel comfortable in the experience. So for example, when you're going down on a woman and you can tell like she's not really getting into it, the body is not squirming, the body's not moving, she's not really making noises, she's just kind of laying there. She's kind of giving you that starfish energy where she's not gripping the sheets. There's no movement of the hand, there's no tightness of the legs, nothing is contracting. She's just like laying there like a starfish. So what you can do is, because you've done tongue magic, you've done this oral mastery, because you know so much, you know about the technique, what you can start doing is instructing her. What you're going to do is to take charge of the process. So basically what you're going to start saying is this. You're going to be like, do you like it more on your clitoris, or do you like it more on your labia? Do you like more pressure? Do you like it a little bit more intense? Or do you like it a little bit softer? And listen to the tonality. I've said this so many times in videos, but I will continue to say this. Tonality is everything, because when you're communicating that way in that sultry voice and it's low, and you know about pressure, you know about speed, you know about the areas where to lick. When you talk to her in that voice and you say, listen, do you like a little bit harder? Do you like a little bit softer? How about your clit? Do you like me to spend some time on your clit? Maybe if I give it a little bite like this, and you give it a little bit of a bite, just like, whoa, where the hell did this guy learn this from? This could be your first time ever doing this to a woman, but because you've watched tongue magic, because you have that oral mastery, you know to do these things. And so what happens is you are now taking her on an adventure with her body. But here's the thing. Please pay attention to this. You are giving her permission to speak up for herself in the bedroom, something that she's never been given permission to. Now you're creating a new experience for her subconsciously, psychologically. You're creating that whole other experience where she's like, not only does this guy know to do different things with my vagina as he's going down, but he's bringing me into the conversation, and he's doing it in such a way that is actually sexy. And I don't feel like I'm in the middle of an exam, like check yes or no, but it actually feels like a sexual experience. Because most guys will get this wrong when they're going down on a woman, and they'll say, do you like that? And that sounds so innocent, but what happens is you're not communicating as if you're in the driver's seat. You're not communicating as if you're the one in charge. And so that's just it. If you want a woman to surrender her body over to you, guess what? She needs to feel like you're in charge. You're never gonna feel like you're in charge if you don't have the right techniques, because the reality is you'll end up like my ex-boyfriend, who didn't have any techniques and was just figuring it out as he was going, which created a really uncomfortable situation for me. It made me feel really awkward. It made me think maybe I don't like this, which I do like it. But I didn't like it with him. And so you don't want to create that awkward experience for her. That's why you want to understand some technique. You want to understand how to do this, so that when you get her in the bedroom and you get that experience with her, and she's in it, and then you start saying those things like, you want me to lick it a little bit harder? You want me to spend some time on this beautiful lips? You want me to start looking there? And you're like giving her direction. It's a question, but you're giving direction of where to go. And she's like, oh yeah, like maybe if you could just like lick it a bit softer, or maybe not. And you can say things like, you want me to change the position of my tongue? You want it flat, or you like a little bit more of a stiff tongue, or do you like a softer tongue? And as you're doing that, you're actually changing up your tongue. So when you say the pointy tongue, you give her the pointy tongue. When you say a flat tongue, you give her the flat. So you're giving her the experience to help her body assess what it is that she really likes. So trust me, this whole technique thing will put you miles ahead, because it puts you in the driver's seat of you're directing the sexual experience between the two of you. Now, let me talk about the surrender part. This is why technique is so important, and why I disagree with that sex expert guy, who I think he does give a lot of good advice, but I think in this he was wrong. The thing is, when she feels like you're in charge and you know what you're doing, and you're gonna know what you're doing because you're gonna get tongue magic, you're gonna get the oral mastery in the chat on my website at arica-angelo.com. When you know what you're doing and you're directing the experience, what it does for her is it makes her feel like what? You are in charge. If you are in charge, guess what she can finally do? And it's what she really wants to do. Most women are not going to tell you this. They're not going to be honest. They're not going to, because we've got this whole like woke culture that is like brainwashed us into being like super independent and really strong. And now we're realizing like that advice actually fucks us, and not in a good way. But when she feels like, oh my goodness, he knows what he's doing, he knows, and he's inviting me into the experience, that's when she can do what she actually wants to do so bad. And that is to be able to surrender. And here's the thing, when a woman surrenders in her body, pay attention to this, please. Don't forget, at the end of the video, I'm going to answer your questions. So make sure you stay for the end of this talk and I'll answer your questions. But when we as women, when we can surrender to you, and here's the thing, we can soften into our body, which means it makes it so much easier for you to read her body. Why? Because her body is giving you real lifetime feedback. But when a woman is stiff and she's tight, and we do stiffen our body, when we don't feel like you know what you're doing, when we feel like you don't know how to bring us pleasure, we will tighten up and just lock our bodies, which makes it virtually impossible for you to read any signal of her body. Why? Because her body is in lock mode. But when you're giving her the right technique, you're giving her that direction, and then she can surrender over to you, and she's surrendered. Guess what? Her body softens. Then the body starts responding more organically to you. It starts moving. She's in flow. When she's in flow, when she's soft, then you can go, you can read the signals because they're not on lockdown. They're actually moving. So there are signals that you can read of, oh, okay, she's actually liking that right now. She likes when I lick her this way. She likes when I bite here because I can see her body responding. Her body is jolting. She's thrusting her vagina more in my face. She's maybe taking my head and like pulling it into her vagina more. She's grabbing the sheets. She will start doing that the more surrendered she feels. She's gonna feel more surrendered when you know what you're doing and you're taking charge. You're leading her through the experience. Otherwise, here's just the common sense of it. If you're not leading, if you're not giving direction, there's nothing to surrender to. Doesn't that make sense? It's like, if let's say you're at a game and you're the captain of the team, and you're not giving the team, you're out playing soccer or football or baseball, and you're the guy who, people are looking to for instruction. No one's gonna follow you if you don't give them any direction. That's the whole premise of people following you. That is the whole premise of a woman surrendering to you, is because you're doing what? You're taking the actual lead. Are you guys not able to get access? Thomas, I just saw that you commented. There should be the link. Is the link not here? I'll be damned. That mother freaking link did not show up. And I hate this. I put it in there and it's not showing up. Damn it. It's in the description of this video, and that's so annoying. I'm so sorry. We can put it on my website, Arica-Angelo.com. It's the only reason why sometimes I don't like these YouTube lives. Sometimes, if you're subscribed to my emails, I've done like webinars, and I think I might have to go back to that because it's easier for you guys to get access. But yeah, so that's why technique is so important, because without technique, she's never going to tell you the truth. She's never going to tell you how she actually feels in the experience, which means you never get her to that place where she actually orgasms. And that's the whole point, because listen, when a woman orgasms and it's sincere and it's real, there's just nothing like it. When you see her body jolting, when you see her going to places of ecstasy that she needs so bad. Like, we need to be orgasming a lot more. I think our society would be far less angry if we were just if we were tapped into our pleasure, if we were in loving relationships where there's tons of pleasure. All the bullshit that goes on, like none of this shit, all this wars and all this, none of this shit would matter. But we're so freaking angry because we're so disconnected. That's really what it boils down to. So if you lead her, she'll surrender to you. But you have to know what you're doing. You have to have some technique. You have to have that point of reference. So it's so strange. I'm going to open up my laptop and see if I can do this while I'm talking to you guys. So I'm just curious, in the chat, would you tell me if this was helpful for you? Let's see. I'm going to refresh this. Waiting for mobile. Let's see if I can refresh this. Let me know if this has been helpful for you. Let's see. It says, so I'm on this on my computer, but it's not, and I put it here. Ah, this motherfucker. YouTube, y'all be fucking around too much, man. Yeah, you can't even see it. Motherfucker. That is so annoying. Focus on your live stream and let YouTube, yeah, YouTube, you're not doing your job. Okay, guys, so if you have questions or if you got something out of this, I would love to hear. God damn it, that makes me so mad. You know what? I'm not happy with YouTube right now. I'm not happy with them. All right, I'm not gonna bitch the whole time about YouTube on this. So we've got Thomas here. We've got Ninja Wolf. Hi, John Trevor Harris. It gets my fire hotter. Thank you. Someone just gave me $10. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. And guys, if you guys ever want to send me money, my Venmo is there. Please send it on Venmo because YouTube takes 30% of everything that you give me. Isn't that sweet? Thomas is here. Scott Austin is here. Damani Brown, hello, darling. Clayton Davis. Abdullah, hello. Abdullah says, I would never give oral to women. It would be too emasculating, at least for me, even if that means calling it off with that woman next. That's so strange. I'm sorry, Abdullah. I don't mean to call you out, but you commented, so I'm going to call you out. That's very interesting that you would find that as demeaning to you. I'm curious if you're a bit repressed in your sexuality. Because if you ever did that and you knew what to do and you saw how she responded, you would not be saying that. This to me sounds like someone who's a bit sexually repressed. You're so welcome, Michael. He says, thank you for sharing. Namaste to you and to yours. Cayman says, hi. Thank you. Alan says, you are gorgeous. Well, thank you. Hold on, I'm just gonna send something to my team. I'm asking that we would put this link on our homepage on Arica-Angelo.com so that you guys can get access to that. Let's see. Alan Bernstein, that's so kind of you. Darth Books. Sounds like Garth Brooks. Who else is here? Will. Thank you so much. He says, I'm proud of your growth. Keep going. Thank you. That really means a lot. It's true. JL says that most women don't have the confidence to instruct. And here's the thing, like some guys get really mad. They're like, well, why should I have to? And it's like, guys, you're not fighting a fucking war. Like, it's not the end of the day to learn how to lick pussy and to oh, awesome. Okay, my team just said that it's been done. So if you guys go to Arica-Angelo.com, you can get access to that oral mastery. I'm so, here it is. He's the best. My team, they're fucking amazing. YouTube special offers. So if you go to Arica-Angelo.com, you will see YouTube special offer. Let me just tell my team that they are the best. So Arica-Angelo.com, you'll get that special offer there. Rudy says, hi, life, and let's see, Rip Chris, miss you. And the lives, Erica, love the live and direct content. Thank you so much. Bruce A says, some naughty girlfriends laughing out loud. Need to find some good ones. That's so funny. You guys are great. Damani goes, who would or could go limp with you, Erica, my angel? Trust me, I've had it happen. I have had it happen. Vikram says, I went through a breakup and divorce. Any advice? That's not necessarily what I'm talking about on this chat. But if you go to my channel and the playlist and look up relationship advice, I have so many stuff there. Cayman says, I want to learn how to make a woman squirt. Yes, go to Arica-Angelo.com. I have that squirting course. It's in the oral mastery. Bruce is like, I didn't think about biting. Yeah, a little bite, a little nibble. Oh my God. Yeah, my God, that shit will, whew, it's hot. When a guy knows how to do it right, it's really hot. Thomas, I got to give a shout out to Thomas. Thomas is probably my most loyal subscriber, and Thomas is always, when I used to do more lives, he would always say, Erica, drink water. Thomas, I brought my water bottle. Ninja Wolf says, I always want to think about massaging a woman's feet and toes just to make her feel special and highly interested in me. Foot massage is really good. Lewis Israel says communication is key. I agree. Mad Bear says this is necessary. Totally. I totally agree. Bruce loves to talk dirty to his woman. I love that. God bless you. Men are here to listen. Yes. I have to say, the people who follow my work, I think I get blessed with some of the best men. I always brag on you guys to my girlfriends, and they're like, how do we find these men that follow your advice? I'm like, I should like start like a whole matchmaking app or something like that so that you guys can all connect. Because all my girlfriends want to meet you guys. They're like, these guys are amazing. They actually take the time to learn how to become better with women. I'm like, yes, because there are amazing men out there and they're all subscribed to my channel. Scott says, how do I get the video that she's talking about? If you go to Arica-Angelo.com, we have a big red boulder. It says YouTube Live. You can get it right there, Arica-Angelo.com. Jim, welcome. David Lulo says, it's technology, Erica. It happens. I know, but you know what? It gets me so riled up. For someone who has an internet-based business for 17 years, let's just say shit has been thrown against walls sometimes. Gent says, hi, hello. Minion of Justice, follow the leader of this erotic game. Ooh, I've never been called the leader of the erotic game. I like that. David, glad you're here. Part 2 is tomorrow. We've got a part 2 and we have a part 3. And so just to really recap, we talked about this one about how when you actually understand the right techniques, that a woman will naturally surrender. And I shared with you why women don't tell you when you're doing a bad job is because women are highly conditioned not to hurt a man's ego. And this goes all, guys, I've lived all over the world. Bali, I live in Europe, I've lived in America, I've lived in England. Women all over the world were just conditioned not to hurt a man's feelings, to not break them down. And so you might look at women who are on social media, but these are just 1% of the women who are running their mouth and saying, rah, but the rest of women are quite shy. They're quite timid about it. They don't have the confidence to look you in the eyes when you're down below and you look up with just those 2 eyes looking above her beaver and you're like, do you like this? And she doesn't have the heart to say, no, I don't actually. You're actually doing a shitty job. And that's why technique is so important, because when you have some reference, like what I share with you in Tongue Magic and the Oral Mastery, when you have that sense of reference, then you can go, I should ask her if she wants this done or that done, or has she ever squirted before? Has she ever done this before? And when you have that sort of reference, you come across as the boss. You come across as the guy who knows what he's doing. You come across as the guy who's in charge. And when you give her that kind of command, you give her that kind of experience, then she naturally goes, ah, I can surrender to this guy. I can surrender to him. Damani says, you're always helpful. Let's see. Daryl, like, my wife used to like it, but after 14 years, she doesn't care for it. My technique has not changed. Oh, well, that, Daryl, you just called yourself out right there. My technique has not changed. Exactly. And Esther Perel, who is brilliant at giving advice, and she says that too. I'm gonna butcher her words, but basically it's like, when couples are together for so long, when sex becomes mundane, that's when the connection breaks. That's when people start looking elsewhere. The reality is, this is why you have access to people like myself who are giving you a variety of things that you can do so that you can change it up. Why? Because she wants that sense of adventure. She wants that sense of spontaneity. She wants to have different experiences. But if you're not leading her through those experiences in the bedroom, eventually your woman will shut down. If you want her to stay vibrant, you want her to stay sexy, you want her to stay fit, then you have to give her something that she's excited about. But if you're still licking pussy the same way you did 14 years ago, my man, it's time to change it up. You can change it up getting that tongue magic. You can change it up getting the oral mastery. You can go to Arica-Angelo.com and get that. Dennis D says, over so many years of YouTube presence, you mastered the art of saying nothing science degree. Of course, it's important to sell programs, but can we go deeper on topic, please, now and in future videos? Dennis, teaching a woman to surrender, if you don't know how to do that, I can go deep as ever on the topics. But if you don't understand that the mere fact that a woman needs to surrender to you, and I'm telling you the psychology of it, then my man, you're never going to get it. So this is deep, but you have to pay attention. It may not be the answer you want, but it's the answer you need. Frank Share says, hi, Erica. It was enlightening to hear where the border lies between skilled and incompetent oral technique. It's actually a pretty stranger journey for men to undertake, I think. I think so too. I think, especially with oral, because oral is such a unique experience. It's such an intimate experience. And so the reality is like, no one is going to teach a man how to do that. It's why I actually created Tongue Magic, to be honest with you. I was talking to my team and we were like, what is it that we need to do next? And I will never forget, I said, I'm like, we need to teach men how to eat pussy. And my marketing guy started laughing and I said, I'm actually not joking. I think we need to talk about this because so many men are really bad at it. And it's not that men are just horrible at it, it's just no one is teaching men how to do this. When you see on porn and the guy does one lick and he's like, and she's like, ah, and it's like, okay, great. And when a normal guy does this to a woman who's not being paid to get these reactions, and he does that same thing, guess what? She's gonna be like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. Please stop. Please. No, no, don't. Oh, please. And he's not getting the same experience. And so that's why I have these what can be perceived as very graphic courses, is because people have to learn exactly how to do this. If we want relationships to last, if we want people to be happy, if we want people to become less enslaved to their phones and actually experiencing joy and bliss and sexual pleasure the way God has intended us, then people have to know what to do, is really what it boils down to. Sean says, Sean, I love you so much. I love Sean. Oh, I'm opening it. It's already opened. Sean says, gotta hydrate before you dihydrate. Hi, haha. Oh, Kamlesh. Hi, please say hi to me. Hi, Kamlesh. Hi, Billy Rose. Kevin says, yes, I'd be interested in being vetted and meeting some of your single girlfriends. Erica, dating apps are not it. You know what? I used to be a huge fan of dating apps. Huge when they first came out. Mind you, I've been in this for 17 years. And when I got started in this business with a simple blog, people would always bitch and say, oh, there's nobody in my area. And then dating apps came and then people could meet anywhere, people all over the world. And I was like, this is amazing. But now it's just because the barrier of entry is so low, people don't invest in a lot. So they just swipe, and they don't take it any deeper than that. So unfortunately, we haven't used them for what they should be used for, and we're just kind of treating people like commodities. Jay Sparty has tongue magic. Did you get the oral mastery? Get the oral mastery. David Lulo, I do. I love Esther Perel too. She's so smart. Ninja Wolf, how tall are you? I'm a 5'5", 5'6". Oh, Jesus. Okay, thank you, Daryl. He says, to elaborate, she hasn't wanted sex in over 10 years. I tried other things when I got the chance, but nothing. I gave up. You know, sometimes when a woman shuts down sexually, and I speak from experience because I don't know if you know this, Daryl, but I was married for 7 years. I got married at 18. Very strange scenario. I won't go into the details on this chat. But I was married, and there was abuse in the marriage. Not saying you're abusing your wife, but there was abuse in the marriage, and I didn't know what I know now. And what happened was it shut down my body. And one common thing that happens in a lot of marriages on both sides, from the woman's side and the man's side, is neglect. You know, when you're courting a girl, when you're dating a woman, you're putting in a lot of effort. But when people get married, they start neglecting one another. They start neglecting their emotional needs. They stop living on that sense of adventure, that sense of pursuit. And what happens is resentment starts building up. And when resentment builds up, the body starts shutting down. Why? Because you don't want to give your body over to someone that you don't feel integrity with. And so you guys need to have some really honest conversations about the neglect I can promise you there's neglect in your marriage, whether it's emotionally, whether it's, you not pursuing her the way you used to and courting her. And I'm not just putting it on you, Daryl. She obviously has her responsibility, because I'm sure you obviously feel neglected. 10 years without sex, I can't even imagine. So it's sitting down and having that hard conversation, babe, and just saying, like, where have I neglected you? And creating a respectable container for you guys to have a very hard conversation and to start repairing the relationship. I will give another, I think it's Esther Perel said this. She said, we've become so conditioned to replacing instead of repairing. And in my years of working with people, I always say, unless the person is an abusive person, it's always worth repairing the relationship instead of replacing them. Because there's a saying one of my therapists used to say is, Erica, everywhere you go, there you are. And we think if we replace with someone else that it's going to change. But the problem is you don't change. And so you bring your same shit into the relationship. I hope that helped, darling. Jay says, practice makes perfect. Eric and Kayla Walton, what are you actually doing except promoting guys to buy your products? Fuck off. Honestly, broke people who just want to watch free shit. Yeah, it's a business, and that's how I support myself. But what you can do is you can go to your job and you can do the work of your job and just send me your paycheck, because you obviously, like, money is not a thing for you. You just want free shit. And you realize that the world works through money. Yes, I give free advice and I sell courses because it's a business, you dumbass. Sorry, but I have zero tolerance for dumb motherfuckers. I believe perfect practice makes perfect. It's true. Tony Cruz, greetings from Mexico. Well, welcome. Jeffrey says, the books and guidance can help, but you actually have to do it to learn. I completely agree. And that is the thing. It's like taking the time. Obviously, you have to have your woman, but when you are putting this into practice, that's when you get actual results. And here's the thing. That's when you actually feel better about yourself. And this is something I've always said in my 17 years of working with men, is this. I know that, like, society and men put women on a pedestal, and I feel like men often feel neglected and they don't realize that they too are the prize. And the reality is, if you want to feel good about yourself, it actually comes from having these experiences. When you feel like, oh my God, I just brought her to this orgasm, and it's like, she looks at me like I'm this sort of hero. What that does for you as a man, it makes you feel like, I'm capable. Like, I'm a good lover. I'm a powerful man. And I think every man needs to feel that way about himself. But it comes, to Jeffrey's point, comes with experience. So he says, get with friends you can trust and practice. Huh, that's an interesting tidbit. Try various techniques to see what works best. Edwin says, nicely said, Erica. So back to my courses. Yes, I sell courses and I make a living selling courses. Yeah, I can't just sit around and jack off with my water bottle and pay my electric bill. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, Einstein. I actually have to have something that brings in money. What a motherfucking concept. So yes, buy my courses. They're on Arica-Angelo.com. And if you really want the tools to give her that tongue experience, that oral experience, there's Tongue Magic and there's also my oral bundle. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. It's really nice to connect with you guys in live time. It's fun to go through the chats and see, the comments and see the comments, which some of your comments, you guys make me laugh so much. Some of the things you guys say in the comments just make me roll laughing. But here, having you guys in live time, such a unique experience. So I will be back tomorrow and I will be back on Saturday, same time. So I will see you guys there. Check things out. Check out those 2 courses at Arica-Angelo.com. I love you guys so much. I'm gonna run because I have to go get some dinner. So I love you guys and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye, guys.